And we're live with Hanna and the anti-Scunner Campbell, the good Campbell, the E1 Campbell, the Campbell that never says, "Oh, get used to the ground." Over to Jonathan and Hanna.
Hi.
Why do we have our cameras off, or is that just me?
What do you mean the camera's off?
I can't see anyone.
You can't see anyone. Oh no.
I can see if. Okay, I'll try and log it back out and come back
Okay.
in. So.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I could see him, but yeah, okay. Yeah, we need Jonathan because he's our Enneagram expert. So.
But yeah, I mean, if you want to look at things from a, if you want to look at, I think old people. You know how if you look at how old people are depicted in the media, it is a bit patronising.
Yeah.
So the older people must have loved Supergram. So the ideas of what they are and are not capable of. So that was interesting. Right then.
Okay, I have to do some small talk. But has it been hot in Britain? What's the weather like?
It's always hot where I am. Hence my attire. It's always hot. I can prove it with the thermometer. I can always prove why. But it'll be there. But it's around 80.
Whereas with me, it's never hot where I am.
Yeah, you want.
It's cold. And I was on the bus yesterday and someone was saying they had their heating on the other day because it's so cold.
I heard you once, right? You didn't want to do a hangout, and it's uncomfortably hot here. And then I sort of thought, that's not a sentence heard often in Scotland. You did right, it's uncomfortably hot here.
Yep, I remember.
What was it, 22?
Yeah, but then Scotland will suit well to Nordic countries, you know? We are welcome in Scotland.
Oh yes, that's the Bahamas to you. Scotland.
Yeah. Anyways, so I have some like I've thought that I know my instinctual stacking, but I'm not so sure anymore. So.
Well, okay. So you think your stacking is SXSP, but you're not sure?
Yes.
That's basically. Okay. Why do you think you're self-preservation second?
Because I love self. I think because that's something I would love to be. I mean, I think I admire SP most.
Well, it's just that your second instinct is actually the one you're most comfortable with. It's one you find relatively easy. So it's not. That could be anything from you're really good at it to you're not really good at it, but you find it easier than the other two. So I'm SOSP. SP is I'm the weak side SOSP, so I'm not great at self-preservation stuff, but compared to the other two, I find it relatively easy. I also see it as a bit of a means to an end, so I keep thinking of getting in shape or getting a good job and having money and so on, but not as an end in itself, more as I'm hoping that I'll get a position of strength or a strong base for which to pursue my SO instinct goals for my community.
Yeah. Maybe you can explain, or maybe I took this book with me, so I know there's something about instinctual.
Yeah, you've got it as well.
Oh, you have
We're all members of the club.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think we've talked about this before. But what do you think? Should the instinctual stacking be considered together with the main type? Because I am fairly sure I'm E6, Enneagram 6. Unfortunately, I hate it. So what I'm thinking, I think I've asked this before, but I don't remember. so what do you think?
I think that Chestnut's book is quite good and it's got all useful things. The main thing with the instincts is I do think the stackings do matter, so she's only talking about SO, SP and SX, but not SOSP, SOSX, whatever. So the descriptions are good, but they're not great because they're not factoring that in. I mean, how do you relate to those descriptions of sexual sex and so on? Sexual sex.
From the chapter 6, when I read about the instinctual, it's quite clear. I mean, that there I'm SX because I'm more counterphobic. I am also phobic, but I'm more counterphobic, I would say. So, but then I don't know.
Well, the social instinct is kind of a mix. Self-pres is phobic, SX is counterphobic, SO is kind of in the middle. So,
I'm trying to find it here. Oh, wait.
So SO can be counterphobic. I mean, self-pres can be counterphobic under stress as well, but in general, SO sort of in the middle. So they can be counterphobic. I've actually got. I can screen share because I've got some slides. Okay. I can open them.
Okay. Oh yeah, now I found it. So the social 6 has this duty, and self-preservation has warmth, and then sexual 6 has strength and beauty. It's a counter type. I don't think I'm a social.
Yes.
I'm not a social 6 because I don't look for. Well, I don't know. Well, I don't look for community.
Can I mention one thing, Jonathan? Just it's just a piece of information that might factor into Hanna's stacking. Hanna's mentioned in other hangouts that she was very much interested in manners, societal conventions, things like that. And I was wondering if that plays into her stacking and her type.
Yeah, I was wondering that. Yeah, because that does sound quite SO to me. And also, you've said that you sometimes think you're a 1, and social 6 is the 6 that most looks like a 1. So that's another thing I've considered. Sexual 6 actually looks a bit more like an 8, traditionally.
Yeah.
So.
I think. Well, I have to remember that I only learned about the instincts, I think, during past 2 years, and the past 2 years have been very emotional, and we have quite a crisis. I mean, during past 2 years, so I think that can muddle. How do I say? It can make it a bit more difficult to see that instinct.
Yeah. So. The social instinct, whether you're social first or social second, they're quite good at picking up on group dynamics and social politics and so on. So things like if they're in a group or even if they're just observing a group, they can figure out who's in charge or who's got the most popularity, who seems to have the most pull, that sort of thing.
Well, that's actually, that sounds like me. I'm very good at picking up those kind of cues. I've always been like that.
Yeah, I've always known that too. So, I mean, Ben, have you been like that? I mean, you're SO second.
I like what?
Are you good at noticing group dynamics and social politics? Are you good at noticing that stuff?
What I'm very much aware of is it's a combination of I've become much more aware of the facial expressions in terms of like really like into the eyes. Like this is why I used to be so bad at judging what was good and bad acting, but now I'm like super picky in that area, and so that area has improved. The ability to read people and like knowing when I'm not clicking with someone, when they're not finding anything interesting, and knowing exactly what they're feeling. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is then also knowing the power level, especially with men, because when you're, and Hanna will probably notice exactly the same thing, as when you're SE polar, you're very much aware of how aggressive, from our point of view, people are being. So you're aware of the aggression level.
Oh yeah.
So we will look at it in terms of, so Hanna will see, okay, who's being the chauvinist pig here, or like the characteristic type behaviour, and they'll get a feel. They'll have a feeling like, oh, who's throwing their weight around, and who's, and looking at it, things like that. So we'll see those things. But I'm not usually in those situations that will show those dynamics.
Well, I'm not usually in them, but I'm often observing them. So even if it's just on the internet or something, I'll see these things within groups and forums and so on. I'll pick up. Also, I did talk to Jeff about this when we were doing the Enneagram 7 ones, and he said that.
Oh yes, Jeff.
Yeah, he said. Well, he said that he doesn't actually do it, but he does notice when other people do it.
Oh, that's interesting. Sorry, say that again.
Jeff said that he doesn't really notice social politics or group dynamics, but he notices when other people notice. He knows that it's not his strength. He knows that it exists, but he doesn't really pay much attention to it. Yeah. So if you're thinking again of the means to an end thing, an SXSP will basically want to find somewhere to settle or create a base or some kind of sense of security in order to pursue a relationship or a cause or whatever, to put their sexual intensity to use, shall we say. Whereas an SOSP, as I said, will want more to create a base of security in order to pursue our social mission or social agendas, which could be making friends or contributing to the community and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I'll get the slides up. I'll screen share. Again. Sexual stackings. You also have to remember the strength of the...
Right. So what I'm going to do now is I've clicked on Jonathan's square so that whenever anyone talks, it stays on his screen.
Okay, I'll show you. This is the SXSP.
Yeah.
So, sorry. The most internally conflicted of the stackings and potentially the most inconsistent in behaviour. This may occur as a blockage of the sexual instinct, which can be reread as more generally brooding and troubled personality. They may isolate themselves for long periods of time before re-emerging. They live according to a strictly personal outlook and are not particularly concerned with the approval of others outside of their immediate concern. They seem to be searching for something in the missing piece. If they find a soulmate, they will unite without fanfare, forming a secret bond and dealing with formalities as an afterthought. Powerful sexual impulses facing inner resistance may manifest symbolically in the psyche, giving way to soulful interpretations of the unconscious. Under periods of stress, severe sexual tensions may manifest as erratic and positively destructive behaviour. Can seem restless, torn between the comforts of a stable home life and the urge to wander. May be prone to self-medicating. Expression, intense self-absorbed expression. Intense energy expressed calmly, steadily, assertively. Intense and assertive, troubled, self-absorbed. Their mindset: if I can make us have an orderly and pleasing lifestyle, I can keep up and escalate all this merging intensity.
Is that for all? Is that for everyone that's SXSP, or is it for just E6s that are SXSP?
It's for all SXSPs in general.
Right. So that's why when I hear certain things, it sounds more like one type than another.
Yeah. Also, you have to factor in the strength of the stackings because there's variations even to this, which I can get to. But blind spot, likely to neglect the desire to maintain physical safety, comfort, and an orderly lifestyle for the sake of their primary concern of seeking intense connections and experiences in average healthy levels. May not have an awareness of the need to connect to a broader sense of the world, of a sense of security or in groups, or of the need to seek it, or even of the need to foster approval, support, and understanding of themselves within groups. they are connected with, in order to, often causing misunderstanding with allies, supporters, friends, and family members. So,
are these usually SPs and NFs?
sorry, what do
Are
you mean?
these usually SPs and NFs? This stacking?
This is SXSP, so it's...
Yeah.
Oh,
You mean artisans and ideals?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, artisans
I
and
was,
ideas.
yeah, sorry, I was confused with the SPs. There's too many SPs.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't...
Because you've got there because you've got like the connection, like NFs are really into the connection thing, and then you've got the
I suppose
the experience.
Yeah, I suppose they could be, but I don't think it's necessary.
Or maybe like an FP thing.
Yeah, it could be, but no, I don't think it's. I think anything could be.
I don't mean one-to-one, just like your general trends. Your general.
I don't know. I haven't researched enough.
Okay. It's just that when I read things like this, it sounds sometimes some elements. Oh, that sounds a little bit ISFP-y.
So.
Because when we look at the people who we type as 6, there's a lot of INFPs in there. There's a lot of ISFPs in there who are type 6, and I know this is SXXP in general, but it's.
Well, I've seen ENTPs and others who are type 6. Never seen. Yeah, I don't think I've seen an SXSP ENTP yet, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, but as you know, there's different kinds of sexuals. Like for instance, like your Donald Trump kind of sexual is going to be very different from your INFP kind of sexual, where the INFP sexual is looking for that deep connection, the soulmate type connection. So maybe there needs to be this actual instinctual statin needs to be broken down into more nuanced levels.
Well, there is this. I mean, it does that when you talk about the strength of the stackings and so on, and we talk about comparing it to Enneagram. There are ones that do that. This is just a basic introduction.
It's almost as if they should split up the sexual, each one into like variations on itself.
They do it, just not here. That's the thing.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, Hannah, how do you relate to that?
Well, I do. Unfortunately, I don't. I think this is one of the hardest stackings to experience. Or maybe I'm biased, but I mean seriously, this sounds not so nice. But yeah.
Oh, by the way, Donald Trump is an SXSO, not an SXSP, so your friend is not.
Oh yes, that's right.
Yeah, he's more like Ben than you. Don't worry.
Marvelous.
Yeah, we know that. We knew that. Anyways, but yeah, I don't know.
Sorry, here's SOSP. Motivation to attain status in their chosen sphere, the social climber. This is often the most comfortable in group settings, but tends to be a bit formal and awkward in one-to-one relations. This is the natural political type, affiliating themselves with groups or theories which best defend their social and material interests. They may lack warmth and individual identity, and this could lead to problems in forming meaningful relationships outside of a shared social interest. They know what they like, but they also find it difficult to get deeply excited or enthusiastic about anything. Smiley, calm expression. Sorry?
Yeah, it's because as you go through these, I remember certain things that Hannah's told me that you may not have heard, Jonathan, or you may have, is that she'll say things like, when sometimes she's in a group, sometimes she'll take over the group and actually be a leader of the group. And I wonder if that goes into an instinct or stacking thing.
That does sound more like an SO instinct, first or second, yeah. So, blind spot, likely to neglect the desire to maintain physical safety, comfort, and an orderly lifestyle for the sake of their primary concern of building their sense of personal value, accomplishment, and security to please others in average healthy levels. May not have an awareness of the need to stimulate the mind or emotions, or evolved routines and despite social connection may feel a strange disconnection even from spouses, friends and family. They may often have limerence but struggle to develop deeper attachments. Mindset, if I can establish an orderly and pleasing lifestyle, I can make sure and keep improving my position and inclusion in the group world, or keep contributing. It's not the best description actually, but
So this is you. This is Jonathan. This is you.
well, sort of. I'm warm side, so again, there's strength. There's levels of health, levels of strength to consider, levels of the strength of the second instinct to consider, which this doesn't account for. But in general, I mean, how do you relate to it? Forget about me. Forget about me completely.
I know I'm not this one. I mean, this is not like me at all.
Hanna, which instinct do you think Finnish culture is?
SP.
Self-pers, right? Okay.
Oh yes.
All right. So, well, what we could do is we could look at the strength of different instincts. If I can open this.
I think the Riso and Hudson descriptions of the instincts are quite good.
Well, I can get that for a moment.
Yeah. Because it goes to the point. So when it talks about the sexual, it says, "Hey, it's not just the sexual drive; it's the deep connection."
Okay, so these are the 3 ranges of SXSP.
Right.
So, SX in full command produces an active recruiter and potential mates. But being SXSP, this remains in the yin mode of seducing, charismatic and overly sexualized.
Oh, I'm not that one. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I was yes.
SXSP.
Yes.
Okay, mid-range. Range where the mystique of the SXSP stack is at its strongest, unconsciously attracts with intense eye contact and other SX viewers, pulls back enough to give them a kind of untouchable or hard to get close to quality. Depending on their true intentions, this can either frustrate or SX reward their functional SP cooling system. Like mid-rangers of all stacks, there's a seemingly casual approach to meeting their variant needs, as the secondary instinct is kept in play and at bay, and others may wonder what they really want.
No, I'm the strong SP. I'm the last one.
The most classically blocked of the SXs, often exchanging intimacy in favour of the more immediate pleasures of the body. Paradoxically, the most wandering and restless of the SXSPs pulls from SPSO to ensure the SX flood is contained by the SP level, I suppose that's meant to be, which can provide a sense of stability at the expense of seemingly put off by others. Sex can mean a hollow satisfying of the instinct, while more vulnerable feelings are suspended, quietly charged but muted, and can seem self-praised first.
Yeah, if I'm really SXSP, it's this last one.
Okay, well, try SOSP. I'm SOSP warm side, which is you're probably not. We're more warm and jokey, humorous.
Hey, I think Hannah's quite humorous.
Yes, but not as humorous as me. I'm much funnier. I am. Yes.
I mean, I can be very.
You have a tendency to be cheeky, Jonathan. It might be another type interaction moment.
Yes. See, warm side. Perfect. That's contra-full humor.
Not the first one. Not the first one. No.
Okay. SOSP cordial. The classic or true SOSP, not able to distinguish by either SOSX nor SPSO. The most wide-reaching and moderate of the ranges, finally brought ingratiating, anchored by a larger sense of community but not at the expense of delicate alliances. More verbal than the formal range but less sociable than warm signers. Have a strong sense of fairness and equality. Though an academic or career respect may come off as elitist.
Not bad.
SOSP, strong SP, pulls from SPSX for a more self-contained style. Social, while still primary, is muted, can seem critical and more impersonal than the other ranges. A usual focus on topics, issues and responsibilities affecting specific levels of society. Usually well connected, but in formal settings may let others do most of the talking. Can seem self-present at first glance. So...
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'm any. It seems so difficult. Well, lately I felt it's been so difficult to find my type in any system. But I know I'm not the first one here, and if I had to choose, it would be either the cordial or formal.
Right.
I have a book that that you might both like, and I usually don't talk about this subject because it is associated with the dark arts. But Dario is a big believer in NLP, so this is a book here called Enneagram and NLP, and apparently these two are some big names. Murray Spalding, she has an enormous ego, but she has worked quite a bit with Helen Palmer, I think, and actually had connections with Oscar. Was it Ishazo? And Anne Linden worked with Milton Erickson, and so they came up with NLP specific techniques that are specific to each Enneagram type, and I think this might be a useful book for you. Hanna, this book, Enneagram and NLP.
Right here.
Because you've got 8 keys of self-leadership, and Dario is a big believer in NLP. And unfortunately, when we did the interview with him, the original was 3 hours long, and the second half was all about NLP. And as you know from the back of this book, Dario is a huge believer in NLP. Like at the back of the book, he's got he mentions NLP, and then he puts here, so type development coaching with neuro-linguistic programming, and he wrote that in 2003. So he's been into NLP at least 13 years. And so what you were saying there about challenges, and if you want like an Enneagram-based approach, so it's like, oh, what can I do with this Enneagram knowledge? And then it has these like specific techniques. And one of them is like, that Dario actually talks about in this book, is a technique called reframing. But you probably looked at this like in other psychological things of like reframing situations to put a or I would call it respinning a situation, because that's effectively what you're doing by reframing it. Oh, they didn't really mean to say that, but so yeah. Anyhow, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I just thought of that when you mentioned some different.
Well, I actually checked up that book on Amazon just there, and it was going really cheap, so I just bought it.
Oh, you mean?
He bought it. I mean, just now.
Just now.
Oh, yes. You mean this one, the Enneagram and NLP?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
so excellent. Another book. Ben has another book sale, but with no commission whatsoever.
It was only £1.28.
So. It's fantastic. Right, so let me just check. So you have just bought the Enneagram and NLP, A Journey of Evolution by Annie Linden and Murray Spalding.
Yes.
Excellent.
Did you buy it from Amazon, like UK Amazon?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Okay. So, here's the sexual instinct just by itself. Sexual instinct can be called the instinct of attraction. It is aggressive, competitive, single-minded, all or nothing. User of this energy is intensely fiery and affirmative, go-get-it approach, a life or death matter, e.g. salmon swimming upstream to meet and die. With this instinct, you're either turned on or you're not. It is what it is. You cannot fight Mother Nature. With this instinct, one's attention is wholly captivated energetically by someone or something. The SX energy is described as high energy and is often experienced as intense, assertive, laser-like, intensely focused, playful yet penetrating in nature. The feeling of SX first is sometimes compared to being on a roller coaster ride, even though you aren't on one. Subtype will sacrifice for the relationship to ensure intensity connection. This intensity does not have to be met by another person. It can be satisfied by a project, hobby, or special interest. Rather than looking inward or to the group to resolve their problems and challenges, these types tend to look to close relationships and activities that can guarantee them an experience of liveliness and intensity. SX first people enjoy feeling invigorated. They may fantasize about scenarios that make them feel alive, and they are emotionally stimulating. Keywords: activation, immersion, charisma, broadcasting displays, fusing inspiration and validity. Sexual subtypes are not to be confused with having a healthy sex drive or being sexy, which is a common reason for many people misidentifying themselves as sex primaries. The name of the instinct is as misleading as, in the end, all instincts point to sexuality. Self-present body-to-body part, cuddling, sensuality, automatic regulation. SX is riding the waves of energy, the invisible forces of attraction between the people, but it doesn't need to be actively physical. In a union, all three instincts combine: warmth, energy, affection. One could have the sexual instinct operating in a group of friends, being in the heat, stimulated energy, energized, engaged. In relationships, there's desire for endless engagement and fascination.
Right. I'll just point out to people, yes, the title is a bit wrong at the moment. It says E5 instinctual stackings. I'll change that to E6. Yeah, Jonathan, if you show on screen the description from Riso and Hudson, I'll read it out.
Alright. Is that a criticism of my voice?
Well, for me, it's not. I'm thinking of those Americans that have a problem with the Scottish accent through lack of familiarity.
I don't have a problem. I mean, my mother's not English.
You've also lived in England, I think, though, Hannah.
Yeah, but in the very south.
No, I don't know.
Right, so I don't know if your page numbers will be the same, but it's in the advanced guidelines. Page 429 for me.
Oh, is it the instincts?
Yeah, the instincts in Riso and Hudson personality types.
Oh, I'm in the wrong book. Sorry. I'm showing you far too much, I think.
It's just that whenever it goes through this, I like to point out to people, like, there's a difference between like the NF kind of sexual and the SP kind of sexual.
Yeah.
Because with the NF, it really is about, they do more of that projection. This is like the dream guy or dream girl, where they project that idealized image, and it's much more of that, the NF-y stuff of like the soul mate type, whereas the SP Casanova type, Donald Trumpish type.
But I don't know.
I'm different.
Whatever is more like living in their mind and not in.
Well, although ISFP would be a little bit of both, because they're almost an NF. They have some NF tendencies sometimes in the ISFP.
Well, I'll get off the book, but only if you read the rest of.
Okay.
The SX instinct and the social instinct.
Okay, I'll read them all then. Right.
So this.
Okay, I'll click on there, and right. So, oh, you want me to read it? Read that.
Read this,
okay.
and then I'll show you.
Okay. I'll just wet my whistle first.
So starting here.
I'll just wet my whistle.
Right. Summary of SX instinct. Primary concern: intense experiences, connections, and contacts, wide-ranging and exploratory, in order to find something to complete them inside. Skydiving, deep conversations, exciting movies. Primary focus: people and attractions promising intense energy and change. Primary ambition:
Charge, not change.
Charge, yeah.
Oh, what did I say instead of charge?
Change.
Oh, dear. Dearie me, maybe I should put my other glasses on. Right. Primary ambition: looking outside themselves for the person or situation that will complete them, and then obsessing over that completing element. But I'll just do a little bit of editorializing there. The actual person that is actually like literally looking for, oh, this person will complete me, that leans more towards NF. If someone is like thinking in those terms, is like actually thinking about it in like those abstract terms of like, oh, they really complete me. Like if someone like went around saying those sort of things, then I would think they sound a bit NF-y. Not that there's anything wrong.
But I will ask something. Because I don't tend to seek that from other people necessarily, but from systems, books, systems.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would that fit also?
Like, depends. It's more about the intensity of it, not. That's why I was going to look at the social instinct next.
Mm-hmm.
To compare and contrast.
Right.
We're fairly sure one or the other.
Right, so I can read out a bit more. Right. Right, so we've got primary ambition, looking outside themselves for the person or situation that will complete them, and then obsessing over that completing element. Primary stresses, lack of intense mental or emotional stimulation, lack of an intense connection or experience.
Mm-hmm. You mean, I do think that they tend to be, SX types tend to be NE or SE in general. Not always.
That's interesting. That is interesting because I'm going to have to do it's a little digression, but it's still within the realm of typology. I had pardon?
There are plenty of exceptions, so I'm generalising. But
No, what I mean is, I'm saying is, I had a little bit of a crisis in faith in socionics a few days ago, where I considered deleting all my videos for a split second, because I was upset by the definition of static dynamic, because it was completely bonkers because I forgot. My memory being like, that thing that you strain water with a sieve, sometimes like that, where I forgot that if you think internal, external, then it makes sense. So when it says there about lack of the inside, so SPs, if we look at their external behavior, they're dynamic. They improvise. They don't plan as much as SJs. SJs, like, they might plan 6 months ahead. So if you looked at it, you would say from their external behavior, SJs are static. They plan for a future, assuming the future will be in a certain way. And if you asked an SP to plan 6 months in the future, they might say, well, you don't know what's going to happen. This could happen, that could happen. You have to be fluid. You can't overplan. You can't limit your options. So if you looked at the external, so if you look at SPs and SJs externally, then you would say that SPs are dynamic and SJs are static. But if you look at the inside, and I got this idea from D.A. Drenth, his site Personality Junkie, when he looked at judging and perceiving. And I think he said something like, judging and perceiving revisited. And it looked at whether the INTP is a judger or a perceiver. And as you know, in the MBTI, I'm a perceiver, because externally I'm a P, internally I'm a J. But it's much easier to see the P than the J. And so I then thought, well, if you look at ISTJ is internally, they are dynamic. They are very much affected by their surroundings. And what you could say is they have internal instability in terms of how they feel. They're sort of like their dynamic sensor. And so their environment very much affects them. So you could then say, so usually, and I can ask Jonathan about this in a bit, when someone has OCD, the obsessive compulsive disorder, I think they are compensating for something inside, an internal instability where they want the structure outside of them.
Yes, and it's an anxiety disorder, so that's true.
Right. So if you look at SPs, though, if you look at the SP, the ESFP, without naming any names, that doesn't like to tidy up, doesn't mind their place being unneat, right? That doesn't bother them. They're cool and calm on the inside. The external mess does not bother them. So I think it would be fair to say that in general, SPs are more stable on the inside, and when you do get them angry, they calm down very quickly. Forget about it. Don't bear a grudge as long as, say, an SJ does. An SJ will take longer to calm down, and I think that matches up. So like I said, if you look at internal and external, then you can notice these differences. Then static and dynamic can work. But if you just looked at external behavior, you would say that socionics has it backwards with static dynamic.
But I have no idea which one I fit, because I think I have features of both. So that's why I'm.
Yeah, I mean, as you yourself, you because you studied philosophy, you probably got a little bit disheartened by, when this metaphysics where it's all based on these principles, and it's like, well, how do we know these are true? These are just hypotheses. These are not axioms.
Mm.
This person's based the whole system based on these hypotheses, as if they are universal truths, and I get a bit disheartened by that in socionics, where if you go on Wikisocion, you've got stuff about statics and dynamics of objects and fields. And I said to Victor, it's like, but this is a metaphor, and people confuse the metaphor with reality. And he said, yes, they do. They don't realise it's just a metaphor, but people think it's the real thing.
But hey, but which of these tendencies would you say it is that, I have, as long as I remember, from very young age, I have always had some kind of system or theory that I obsess about. And of course, it's an external, because I try to explain and categorize myself. It's usually a typology of some sort, or a color and style system, or whatever. Just today, I was going through my wardrobe once again, and putting things in different piles and trying to. So I'm really trying to arrange my life or myself by these externals.
Do you think that could be to compensate for your anxiety?
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. But I mean,
that does sound quite SO6 as well, because SO6 in Chestnut does that, though. They want a system or something to depend on for their anxiety.
You mean SOSX?
SO type 6.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
So I think what we can agree on then is that usually there's a compensation between the inside and the outside.
Yeah. As I said, SX6 is generally a bit more rebellious and more. They're more about relation. SXSP6s are more about relationships. SXSO6s can be with that too, but they're also a bit more about causes and being rebellious and so on. Rebellious shaking SX6s.
I'll say something else I thought about this with the SPs. When you're thinking about the sexual stuff, is and the research has pretty much shown this, that the thing that SPs hate more than anything is being bored. Would you say that's fair enough to say, Hannah and Jonathan? That
yes,
they hate being bored, and so and based on the brain activity, there's not a lot going on until they're stimulated, and then they're zoned in. So it's like, so you could also say, hang on a minute. So if there's not much going on, then that's pretty stable on the inside. It's not like, and I think when I asked Jonathan about, does he think that he's dynamic on the inside and static on the outside, that he said that seems to match him. So if you do think of external, internal, then static dynamic makes sense, and you won't feel like deleting all your videos and kicking and throwing socionics in the bin.
Okay.
But I still don't know which one I.
Yeah, it's very. But for me, I would be happy if I were you. I'd be happy just with knowing your Enneagram type and your temperament.
Okay.
I mean, you're sure you're a 6, aren't you? And you're sure you're an NF. So there you go.
Okay, Benjamin. Why are we not on topic?
Well, I get a little self-indulgent, yes. But but I think I brought it up because when you're talking about these SX instant, you're talking about when it's the SPs and then when it's the NOFs, and there can be a difference. Like there's bits here where it's like, oh, that sounds like an SP SX, or that sounds like an NF SX.
Please start reading again.
Right, okay, so we hear primary ambition.
Now we read that already, but it's...
okay, primary stresses.
Yeah, okay.
Lack of intense mental or emotional stimulation. Lack of an intense connection or experience. See, there we go. I mean, that covers both of them. Connection for the NFs and experience for the... That will cover both of them.
Okay.
Coping methods. Unhealthy. Scattered attention. Lack of focus. Sexual promiscuity. intensely avoiding intense experiences and connections with a fearful and dysfunctional attitude towards sex, intimacy and other intense completing experiences, and is skewed by the secondary instinct.
Also, I forgot to read this.
I'll do that. What you got? What you got? So, which one? Okay, that one. Topics. SX types might bring up in conversation their personal experiences, personal attractions, personal likes and dislikes, innermost wants and wishes, relationships, their family, children and friends, friendship, closeness, intimacy, sex, mating, beauty, attractiveness, personal feelings and mental states, excitement, intensity, desire, obsession, liveliness, rebelliousness, action sports, gender and gender roles, femininity, masculinity. SX first people often report having strong personal preferences. One thing we need to take into account that as soon as I read these people bring up these things, you got to think about there's a certain cliche about the culture in California where they tend to talk a lot about this stuff, just generally. And so if someone's writing this and they're Californian, there's more of that thing of them coming out and talking about these things straight away. And Robert McKee called them California scenes, where people just like talk to strangers about all of this like stuff that like just volunteer all of this personal information that people don't do in, say, New York. And yet also there's a tendency maybe for Californians to be more FE than, say, New Yorkers who might be more FI and real. So there are these little subcultural differences. So it's more though white, middle class, suburban, where the culture is like they might read all books on this subject. They will volunteer this information like this, talk about going through therapy and all these kinds of things. So the influence of culture again. And I was just wondering, when the person says this, is this person writing from California?
I don't know.
So, you know, so...
Okay, so that's the sexual instinct. This is the social instinct.
Yeah, it's just that when it said there, these people tend to talk about these things.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, it might depend on the culture they're in.
Well, yeah. I was thinking more of the gender roles and the femininity, masculinity thing is relevant here.
Oh, yes.
But
that's Hanna's specialist subject. One of her specialist subjects.
Yeah, but it's about having... You can be care about it from a social perspective. And Hannah seems more critical of it, that's the thing. Whereas what they're describing is more like being really proud of being masculine or being really proud of being feminine. And maybe being critical of the other gender, but not necessarily your own, and that kind of thing. And your own sexual identity.
But you see, these things are so influenced by, like, say, your local... So, for instance, say if it was in Finland and you had a really strong female prime minister or president, then that would affect the views of this. So, for instance, at the moment, the next leader of the Conservative Party in the UK might be...
Theresa May.
Theresa May, and who's got a very strong personality. And do you think... What type do you think she is, Jonathan, Theresa May?
I think she's an SJ. STJ. Don't know.
Do you think she's an 8?
Possibly. Don't know.
So, for instance, but if you like, and I remember growing up.
So she's basically another Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah. But so the point is there.
Interesting.
So, if that's what's normal for your SJs, oh, this is what a powerful woman is like, and you've got that role model that the SJs look up to, that is then going to affect how they view the gender roles because it's like this massive role model of, and especially if they vote for that party, it's like, oh, she's just like my prime minister that I love.
She could.
So
she could be a sexual war or something. God, type 1. Theresa May.
Well, I'd rather vote for Michael Gove, but only on the basis of the fact that he was an exit person rather than a remain person. Right.
Fair enough, that's why most people would not want him, but okay. Anyway, social instinct. Social instinct.
Okay, I'll read this out, yes. Right. Social instinct. I'll just... got dry mouth. Social instinct is not the same as socializing. Remember that, folks. This instinct is aimed towards species survival as a whole. It acts in species where families and groups exist to protect the vulnerability of mother and child. The social instinct provides a holding environment. It needs group viability for a sense of well-being. Emphasis on cooperation. Reciprocity. Roles aimed at mutual survival. There is a need to be involved and contribute. A desire to be wanted and accepted by the group. It can sense when a behavior is damaging to group survival. It forms a sort of unconscious clusters.
Boy, cluster.
Not so sure, yeah, weird grammar. It forms a sort of unconscious cluster where mutual support is an issue. This instinct is also attuned to hierarchy and possesses political awareness. It has a good sense and understanding of group boundaries and what groups can accomplish. The SO energy is often described as split energy, experienced as scattered and projected outward, appearing personable, superficial, and cursory in nature. This subtype will sacrifice for the group to ensure status. These types tend to look outward, based upon a belief that my value is dependent upon how I am perceived by the group. The survival strategy is an emphasis on sociability or unsociability. There is a sociable inclination to categorize oneself in terms of others. The question who I am is defined by how comfortably or successfully I experience my group. Focus is on the issues dealing with how the person is being perceived by the group. Now for the next one, you just need to go up a little bit because of the little boxes at the bottom. If you need to get down a bit now, I think. Oh yeah, sorry, that's okay. Topics SO types might bring up in conversation cultural and political movements and developments, social activism, social values, societal standards, rules, guidelines, social power structures, appropriateness, inappropriateness, friendship, family, inclusion, exclusion, popularity, popular songs, books, movies, memes, manners, fashion, glamour, fame, notoriety, organizations, clubs, group divisions pertaining to nationality, race, etc., patriotism, civic engagement, influence. SO first people sometimes refer to themselves using pronouns we, us, or our as if they are the group. Summary of SO instinct. Primary concern. Right, so far, this is basically your SJs and your NFs. There's a big NF influence, mainly SJ, but there's some NF influence in there about the group identity. It's mostly SJ. Primary concern. Building their sense of personal value, accomplishment, and a security of place with others via interaction with people in a broader sense through family, group, subculture, mainstream culture, community, nation, world. Primary focus. The status, approval, and admirability of themselves and of others in the minds of any number of different groups. Subtle power structures and politics, knowing what is going on in the world. A contextual intelligence that allows them to see both their efforts and their broader context in the world. Primary ambition. Interacting with people in ways that will build their personal value, their sense of accomplishment, and their security of place with others. To touch base, with others who feel safe,
Do you feel
alive,
safe?
and energized. May include a pursuit of attention, success, fame, recognition, honor, leadership, appreciation. It's starting getting a bit E3 now, and the security of being a part of something bigger than themselves. Primary stresses: being able to adjust to others and be acceptable. Others' reactions to them, whether they are being accepted or not, may include intimacy, which is tended to be avoided. Coping methods: unhealthy. Antisocial behavior: detesting or resenting society at large. Displaying poorly developed social skills. Fear and distrust of society. Resentfulness at having had to change to gain approval causes a stubbornness against doing what is necessary to get along with people. A social resentment and avoidance as is skewed by the secondary instinct.
So
Right.
Hannah, how do you feel? How do you feel about that?
Well, I would say that there are some things that I do have concerns about, but I would say that this is something that I keep hidden from others. You know, it's more like it doesn't feel like it. I don't know how the primary should feel like, or how should it be obvious to others.
Not necessarily. I'm social first, and I'm very not SO. If you knew me, I'm very, very introverted quite a lot. So I mean, some of that's being a 119.
Right. Well, what I might do is I could take a grab of that section, show it to Victor, and ask him, could this match up with like the control FE?
I don't think it really matters as far as your type goes. Any type.
Well, what I sort of mean is like, I think Hannah's an INFP, and in the Model G
Yes.
of INFP, they have control FE, and in the control function, you think about that thing a lot. So the idea is that the INFP thinks about FE things a lot. So it's like Hannah studying manners and stuff. It's just that her own personal identity and values come first, but she's very aware of the societal things. And so I'd just like more nuance and details on that. And maybe some of that is coming through in this. I don't know. Because it's a real difficulty when you're trying to get inside someone's head versus when you're looking at their external behavior. And the control function seems to be a very internal.
Okay. Yeah.
So, for instance, Marira said that INFJs, if they do Dario's test, keys to cognition, they could score very, very high on NE because it's sort of NE in theory.
Yeah.
So maybe so is it maybe a case, Hannah, that you think about these things but don't do them?
I don't know. I think it depends, because this is where I identify as a 6 most. What I mean that I can be. It can fluctuate.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah.
Because we can sometimes I can be very prone to you know, that my self-esteem or my how to say, I feel that my value comes from how people see me in one way, but then I also challenge that view all the time. So there is this. It's not a static thing. So what I mean is that I both seek to be, you know, I can be a people pleaser at some level because I seek approval, but then I also can react and challenge people when I get like, you know, no way, this is not gonna, you know, I don't want to be.
Right, that makes sense.
So it's a very button.
So if we were to look at it from a different angle, so those INFPs that are Enneagram Type 6, they will appear to have a stronger control function. Of like control FE, because like as you said there, the things that the E6 thinks about are FE type things.
Yes.
Well, how did you relate to SO versus SX? What did you relate to most? Those two descriptions we were talking about.
I don't know. I guess SX more, but I do but I do recognize some of the. But I would like to see the SP also.
Okay.
Okay, I'll read that as well.
Or
And then eventually we can get to the Riso and Hudson. Oh, you've blacked out. Oh, there you're back, Jonathan.
Where is it? What's it? Sorry.
In these descriptions, I noticed certain wording that is taken from Riso and Hudson.
Okay, here we go.
Right, here we go. Okay, self-preservation instinct. Is the first instinct to evolve. This is the orientation towards survival, health, and comfort. SP, drive, checks in with the body. Right. Is this not enough? Oh, that's like SI. Is this not enough or too much? And orients by what the body reports on its needs. Of the three instincts, this is the oldest one. It dictates, I must survive. Animals are highly attuned to their self-preservation needs. Modern humans, however, are somewhat more distant from their basic survival needs. Well, in the first world they are. That is, we have more sophistication in the sphere of physical needs and more complex regulation. Once survival is taken care of, we aim for comfort and pleasure. The SP energy manifests as conserved, grounded, tightly coiled, planted, immovable. The energy is usually heavy in its nature, and if the person is carrying some great weight on his or her shoulders and conserving energy for later personal use, this subtype will sacrifice for self to ensure survival, rather than look to their group or mate to resolve their problems and challenges. Self-preservation types may forego social standing or intensity of experience for physical comfort, security, and other factors that ensure their own survival. For example, a SP first person may have Princess and the Pea syndrome, refusing to sleep on most mattresses because they simply don't feel right. Yeah, this sounds like a lot of SI DOM, quite a few SI DOMs. These people look inward based upon an inherent recognition that I'm on my own and I have to take care of myself. Maybe it's an SJ thing that they don't like sleeping in hotel beds. They like to sleep in their own bed. And there are a lot of people like that. Like they can have like a perfectly comfortable hotel bed, but they don't like sleeping in it. They want to sleep in their own bed and this comfort thing. Right. So that's good for. I think like if you want to show somebody what like Socionics SI means, if you were to show them this kind of thought process behind it, sort of ties in with it. So if you go up a little bit, because at the moment it's blocked out. Oh wait a minute, I might have missed some bits out. I can't remember what I read.
But it's okay. I mean, we don't have to read everything.
Yeah, I don't, because you can just read it. I don't need to read it out.
But if you go a bit further down when there are these topics and then.
Yeah, because most people watching this will be able to read it. They're not watching it on their phone. So it would be better actually, Hannah, if you read it to yourself and then just comment on what you read.
Yeah. Well, I know this is my husband. My husband is this. So it's
yeah, there many ISTJs are very much like this. This is like ISTJ in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's very. So I doubt that I'm.
So now you know it's an ISTJ, not an ISTP, but you knew that already.
Yeah. I know. I still admire SP. So and I do consider these things, but I think they are still not the first concerns. You know.
Do you do? But you think it's your second concern?
Maybe, if I consider, well, you know, I'm very orientated towards these needs in other people, though. You know, so I can very fast.
I'm wondering if you're SXSO. I need to get that door. Really.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, while Jonathan gets.
I might have to go in a moment because I think I know what that is.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I'll just mention to Hannah that what you've said there about I mean, in Victor's, I'll mute his mic. Right. Right. As the audience, as our regular Hanna fans will know, that you've been training to be a nurse.
Yes.
And you match up Victor's profile of the INFP, which he calls the humanist.
Mm.
And the humanist is very much launched, stimulated, motivated by seeing discomfort in other people. And so that can be like the SI aspect that's in the self-pres thing. But again, as you are well aware of, we are looking at this behavior and trying to look at it with a framework, and it's the framework which then has the most explanatory power or the best prediction for how you might behave in future, that you sort of like, oh, well, this framework fits, I'll use this one. Mm. So we can look at the same thing from different frameworks. We can say, oh, that's an Enneagram 6 thing. Oh, that's this instinct thing. Oh, that's a type thing. Oh, that. So it's, you know, so, and it's just trying to, and the actual point might be not getting to an actual type, but using the framework to think about the thing that you're looking at. Mm. Because the actual understanding of the self is more important than matching a label.
Yes, of course, yeah. But it's so easy to forget when, you know, when anxious or when I'm feeling anxious and feeling like I want some resolution, and then I feel like, yeah, you know, if I just found my type, then I would be happy forever, you know. Yeah. It's a coping mechanism.
And it's also good to get to a point where you can know, okay, I'm different from this, and I know why I'm different from this, and it's because of a non-type related factor. And so then when you can get to a point where you can say, oh, this is due to nature, this is due to nurture. Right, so Jonathan's screen is moving up. That means he's probably talking. So you might have to put your mic back on there, Jonathan.
See, maybe he's...
He can hear us, but I can't. Can I put him back on?
I don't know. I didn't know you turned me off.
That's one of your ultra Scottish moments.
I was saying things there. I can't remember what I was saying.
That's it. That's what he does. That's it. That's one of those moments. I like to have one of those moments at least in every Jonathan hangout where he goes extra Scottish, extra emotional.
Nice. Anyway, it was just my dad at the door, and he just won some money at the bookies, and he was assuring.
Oh, very good.
Yes, that's self-preservation instinct in action. You know, they like to look after their.
Yeah, he's an SJ, the SJ gambler. Yes, look after them. But he probably does it responsibly.
I'd say yes.
Yeah,
he's not a very reckless gambler. He's fairly safe.
So, but again, that could be another example of that's the subculture. If the culture is to gamble, and right, and that's what's usual for the SJs. The SJs will do it within reason, moderation.
Yes. Right. So true.
Okay, so reading this, what you are showing now, I really doubt that I'm SB blind spot. I'm not SB blind spot.
Oh yeah, no. I am, but you're not.
Yeah, I know.
So, SO blind spot over that.
No. I mean, because Hannah's TE is quite well developed. Like, she's talked about why she's went into nursing and all of the practical features.
Yeah, and I am very aware of my own comfort, and I seek. I love SI. You know, it's my favorite function of all. Or, I mean, in MBTI and also in Socionics, SI is like my dream come true.
Yeah. I think it's particularly accentuated when it goes with feeling. Mm. because more than so. For instance, I might say that SI may have more of a factor on it depends how you define SI. If you define SI as comfort, then yeah, it's going to go well with the so. For instance, in nursing, the sense of discomfort plus your own feelings is going to be an enormously powerful force.
Yeah.
Whereas with the INTP, it would be moderated, I think.
Yeah, it's yeah.
And the INTP will be like, oh, that's a nice sunny day, I'll go outside and read.
Yeah, I would say that,
yeah.
you know, FI and SI are my favorite, and maybe TE at some amount, but FI and SI are my favorite functions.
You also like NE as well?
Yeah, yeah. On a good day, when I'm in a good mood, I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've not said in a hangout like, Jonathan, I'm going to put an end to this NE nonsense.
Oh, no, I never say. Yeah, I'm quite fine with NE.
I have limits.
Yeah, so basically, I don't think we need to read this out because the audience can read it for themselves, and it enables and it makes like so. Basically, if you just like comment on any particular bits, and the dead air is not a problem because the audience themselves will be reading it.
But I don't know. I think it's quite hard to say what is the last instinct. I wonder.
Well, so you don't know what you're worst at?
Well, I think I have problems with all of them. But when I'm thinking about my motivations and how my behavior is motivated by what kind of instincts, I would say that SP definitely is quite high.
Have we looked at SX blind spot yet?
No. Can you show that, Jonathan, please?
There we go.
No juice. No. I don't think this is. You know, most people who know me say that I'm too intense and too passionate. They are more usually a bit intimidated by my. I mean, I'm not like. I think I'm SO last. I think so.
Okay.
Well, one last thing, we can look at the SXSO just to see how you relate to that.
Just one thing, Jonathan. What does SX last mean for you? And then we can compare that to Hanna. Oh no.
My phone, just a second.
See you, baby. See, I was thinking there might be a link between like when we did like the fourth or third Kersey hangout, and we were talking about your ethics. That there might be a relationship there between the two. You know, when it was like, what was it? We did we were talking about humanity being overly concerned with people's appearance.
That's something, yeah.
And I wondered if there might be a connection between that and SX blind spot, or it might nuance it in a certain way.
You mean that if I had SX blind spot?
You see, I don't know, but again, when I see these instincts, sometimes I go, well, that sounds like this type. This sounds like another type.
I would think that SX last would not care about that thing. To me, I care about that a lot. Like I almost obsess about these SX kind of things. So I doubt that SX last would be so concerned about these SX stuff.
Then we have to talk about sociology, like how much is society like pushing it on women to think about these SX things.
Yeah, but it's not only about these female or male roles. It's all about this. I have, you know, ever since I was a child, I've been reading a lot of these and fantasized about these romantic relation. You know, that it's always. I've always kind of had this yearn for finding the soulmate. You know, I totally relate to this. So that's, and I don't like it. I don't like to be think about it. I know that in my fantasy world, it's been a very prominent theme.
So, talking of that, I bought another, because I had the first Please Understand Me book, and I was upset with myself that all my notes were messy because I did these 3 years ago. So I bought a new one to make new notes in, Anita. And I was thinking, and so in here he has got and in Please Understand Me too as well. He talks about the romance, his romance styles like playmate, soulmate, mindmate, helpmate, and so looking at that might be useful. Looking at the idea of the soulmate.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
So yeah, like I said, there's two different kinds of sexual connection: the soulmate kind and then the playmate kind.
No playmate. No.
I mean, it would be. I mean, you could do a sketch about Donald Trump's deep connection. What does he say to his wife?
Oh no. Oh, yeah. No, I'm not SP. That's for sure.
But you see, what that could come out though, I mean, if we actually do, is maybe is Donald Trump actually monogamous? It might actually be that he's more loyal than Bill Clinton.
Oh yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, it's like big words, but yeah.
Oh, here we go. That's me.
So, how do you relate to SXSO?
I'm not SXSO. I'm not exuding raw charisma and sexual energy. Like no way.
I wish I did.
Yeah. I mean, this is Ben. You know, it's not me.
Right. So, you still think SXSP sounds about right?
Yeah, I think SXSP. Just
okay.
Sounds like.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll close this then.
And of course, you can imagine how all of those three things are going to double up on each other, where you've got, or where you've got the INFP and the Enneagram Type 6 and the SX. So you've got like the internal focus of the FI. You've got the internal focus of the, but this weird. It almost is like that ethics of relations thing in socionics, where it's like how you relate particularly to other people.
Yeah.
So you might, so if we compare, say, the INF, so the way Dario defines FI, which is like purely remaining true to yourself and your own feelings, and socionics describes it as ethics of relations, whereas because you're an Enneagram Type 6, you might be thinking about other people a bit more than, say, an INFP who's like an Enneagram Type 4.
Oh, yeah.
The Enneagram Type 6 is thinking about how people think of them and like loyalty and things. Is that a hypothesis that makes sense, Jonathan? Because I don't know that much about Enneagram.
Yeah, so you're saying that SX6 can seem like it's concerned with all the instincts because it's wise about everything and so on. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, a little bit. But just in general, I think that Enneagram Type 6 will change the nature of their FI. That the Enneagram 4, like the Enneagram 4 INFP, I would see is maybe a little bit more selfish than the Enneagram 6 INFP, because the Enneagram 6 INFP needs the support and guidance of other people, and will be more focused on other people than, say, the E4 INFP. And so their FI might be nearer the socionics definition of FI, which is ethics of relations.
Perhaps. Yeah.
So for instance, if I go through that definition, and then I'll let you get in, Jonathan. So the way socionics defines FI is like, it's how you feel towards everything and every particular person. You know how you feel towards that person, and then you sort of like judge psychological distance between yourself and that person based on how you feel about that particular relationship. And maybe you're thinking constantly, maybe like the E6 INFP is thinking constantly how they stand with all of these people in these individual relationships, whereas the Enneagram 4 INFP might be more concerned with their own feelings in like the traditional way that we view FI. And that's why you might have some of these FE type thoughts that we would say is the control function, because you're thinking about, I mean, generally you're thinking about your relationships a lot, because I think that's what E6s probably do. They think about their relationships a lot. That's just a theory.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
So did we say you were SP mid-range or SP strong strength?
What?
There, the strength of your second instinct, was it? I'll show it again.
Yeah, you can also end up showing the Riso and Hudson one as well that you've not shown yet.
Okay.
I don't think I'm specifically strong in any of these, but I mean.
I just like the way the ones I'm familiar with are the Riso and Hudson, because I know you have the PDF of that book, whereas this is a website.
Yeah, I think the Wanderer, the SXSP. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
The strong SP.
Yeah, that might. Since you pull from SPSO, that might explain your slightly stronger social instinct in terms of, like it could be said with social things like manners and so on. So usually the mid-range and the weak range, the mid-range is the most out of touch with their last instinct, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's my theory. Yeah. Anyway, I will screen share the book.
And also, what happens is, as people get older, their inferior function gets stronger.
Yes, and they're
because it's and Dario uses the term aspirational for the inferior function.
Well, I need them all, just the sexual. Because we're pretty sure Hannah's A6.
Well, let's go to the start then. Let's see how it relates to them if you go to the start, because it's not that long a section.
Okay, here we are, self-pres.
Okay. No, so Hanna can read that to herself and then let us know what she thinks of it.
Yeah. Well, you can check. These people are quick to notice any problems anywhere in a room, such as. Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is not my first, but this could definitely be my second. If the second one was, like you said, Jonathan, that it's some kind of a method for. Yeah.
Yeah, this would definitely correlate with enhanced SI in you, Hanna, which would match up your external behaviour of going into nursing.
Yeah. And remember, the unhealthy self-preservation types eat and sleep poorly or become obsessed with health issues. Remember, I had anorexia when I was a teenager, like 19, 20, and I was obsessed about diets and explored like all kinds of diets. I would say that I'm a self-learned dietitian.
So what was that like? Literally, I mean, and this might be a personal question, but what was it like when you looked in the mirror? Did you see something different from what other people told you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and but the main point, I was not. I would say that it was not so much about being thin as such, but it was once again it was a system. I had a system. I had a diet or something that I could use to help with anxiety. So at that point of my life, those were diets. At this point of my life, it's typologies or color and style systems. You know, my systems change, but the method of using them to relieve anxiety is the same. But that was like when I was very, very unhealthy. You know, anorexia is quite unhealthy. So,
yeah.
Of course, but yeah. But I wouldn't say, I don't know, I doubt that it's my first.
You can imagine some scales that might say, "You're thin, be happy." Let's actually write it on the scale.
Yeah, but you know, I think what people don't understand always about eating disorders, it was not only about losing weight, it was a fear of gaining weight.
Right.
We had to prevent that. It was like preventing something bad from happening. So you had to try to keep, and you had to be safe, so you had to, you know, always eat a little bit less and exercise a little bit more.
So is it almost like you're thinking, oh, this might be a boulder that rolls down the hill?
Yeah.
Like, oh, and before I know it, I've ballooned out.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like losing control. So if you give in a little bit, you will lose control.
Ah.
Everything, and that was more like fear of getting fat than wanting to be very thin.
Jonathan, could that be like also like an OCD thing? Like you're trying to get control over something?
Yes. It could be.
So
I guess my anxiety.
Yeah.
Right, so generally when there's anxiety, people try to compensate by structuring something or controlling something.
Yeah.
Can, yes.
Right.
I don't know if that's always true, but it's very often true.
Right.
So maybe not always controlling something, but being dependent on something, that could be it.
That's good. These are good because Kretschmer would talk about things like for the
change that.
The Kretschmer being like for the cyclothymes being depressive and the he had two poles for the cyclothymes: the gay end for the SPs, the gay happy SPs, and then the melancholic, the melancholic guardians. Right.
Maybe I'm a repressed ISTJ. Who knows?
That's a good thing to be, though.
It is. They are.
ISTJs are a great type, as you can attest.
I really like them. But I know that I'm so different from my husband, so I doubt that I'm ISTJ. But I like them, and I have many. Yeah, I have many ISTJ friends also, so I tend to attract ISTJs into my life. They calm me down in some ways.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm an ENFP. No, but what I'm actually really thinking is that this I have also read this A.J. Drent's theory or his writings on this inner systematic these FI-TI types versus and I remember I read about those 2 or 3 years ago, and I already back then I couldn't see which one I am. It's really difficult for me to see because I think I have both tendencies. So.
Yeah, it's particularly difficult, and I think the best way to tell the difference between INFPs and INFJs is to look at the romance styles in how they think, because there it's like night and day. It should be like how you feel about the STPs and the STJs. The stark difference, and again because of the polar function, you'll know how they make you feel. Like where say with the STJs, that would be like hitting the right spot rather than the wrong spot. So you'll know from your own level of comfort.
Yeah.
You won't be you'll be like a bit like this, where it's like the INFJ is like this with SE when they get SE, and like whereas the INFP is like, no, get away from me, stalker.
Yeah, I can sometimes be amused by I was talking with someone or somewhere. It was either in some group or with someone, I don't remember. Anyway, we're talking about because my first boyfriend was ESTP.
Yes, this was an interesting story you told me off air.
And it was somehow I was never scared of him, and I was never like completely thrilled by his SE, but I was quite amused by it. I think it was quite amusing in a way. It was sometimes, like watching. It was surreal, It was like a
larger than life. It was almost probably you didn't think. I can't believe this is actually happening.
Yeah. I was. Is he like? Can there really be people like that?
Now, what else did you say about him? About how it started? I don't know if you want to say that publicly.
What did I say? I don't know. Well, the funny thing how it happened was that I just suddenly realized that I was his girlfriend. I did nothing, and then suddenly I was walking in the street and he was holding my hand, and I was just like, okay, I guess we are dating.
See, now what you're doing, Hanna, is you're giving all of the ESTPs out there with their forceful manner. You're saying, and they'll be saying, see, if you do behave like a chauvinist pig and be very overly forward, then it does sometimes work. They might get to that conclusion.
Yeah, but yeah, I was 17 back then, so maybe that's...
Right, so advice to ESTP. Oh, God.
But I mean, it was quite absurd. But what I think is funny is that I didn't get angry at him, you know, but I also wasn't like totally victim. Like I was amused. That's the word.
Yeah, it's probably just your NE was probably just amused by the fact that like, this is weird. This is like some kind of character exaggerated. That's what some people are like with Donald Trump. Is that they're very highly amused by him, and then they go, "Oh, he really is like that."
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's totally different when if it's something that involves power, like you know, over something else than myself, just myself, because I knew that I never felt threatened by him in any way. So, but in like Donald Trump, he's a politician and he has power, so that's a different thing. You know, I'm not amused by him because he's a public figure.
So ESTPs are okay as long as they don't have power.
Yeah. So,
Even unfortunately, ESTPs usually do find power.
Yeah, I know that's bad. Yeah. Maybe he was ESFP, my boyfriend. Yeah. Well, he might have been ESTP, but yeah. He was SE lead for sure.
Yeah. Will I change the page? Have you read it?
I don't like clubs or group hobbies, except these, of course. Is this a group?
Yeah, but you have your own club called your family.
Ah, yes, this of course.
See,
but
I'm not really one for going to clubs either, but it's not necessarily.
But I don't, but I don't like to be involved in. I like to be friendly when I meet if we have a school ceremony or something, or this, how do you call those parties when the semester,
reunions.
Yes, I mean when my kids' school ends, like in the spring, and they have this party or these festivities or whatever, the semester.
Oh yes, oh yeah.
A rap party, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like that.
So and I see other parents there, all the parents and families come there to celebrate the stuff, and then in those situations I'm very friendly to everyone, but I avoid getting involved in any kind of these clubs for parents that are taking care of some school stuff and stuff.
Yeah.
I totally avoid all of those. Or when my kids were smaller, I hated to go out to parks where I had to talk. If I went out and I did talk a lot with other people, but it was not what I wanted. Or when my son started playing soccer again, and when he played it earlier, I disliked going to watch his games or practice because I just didn't feel any attraction to going to these kind of activities.
Right.
Whereas I have some friends who love it. They it's their life. So
I do think.
So that does sound like introversion.
Yeah, I say that was like introversion, and that's like that gives me introversion in general, especially INFs.
Yeah.
So I relate a lot to that. Not quite intensely, but
Yeah. Elena described it well in a video, unlisted video, about energy level, and I thought her energy level explanation of introversion extroversion was quite good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I am an introvert in the end. Even though I can look like an extrovert. I mean, my family, my closest family, my childhood family, and my husband, they all convinced that I'm an extrovert. They always say that I cannot be an introvert. It's not possible. But
and that's something for socionics I like. I mean, like I appear extroverted in my energy level in these hangouts because I'm on my territory, and that's another great aspect of Victor's Model G is that it talks about this idea how it's like if you have a computer meetup and you've got all these INTPs and INTJs in a room at a conference, they're going to seem a lot more extroverted because they're meeting people with a similar interest, and especially the INTPs are so enthusiastic to like talk to somebody else that they're just going to act like that.
Yeah, I can be very enthusiastic about my these special interests, but also in general, if I'm in a social situation, I pay attention to being friendly and smiling and engaging, and I'm very prone, like we talked, I'm prone to paying attention to people's comfort level and in physical surroundings. So that's the side.
I do mention culture quite a bit. Like, so for instance, Hanna, have you ever encountered like people from Spain, Italy, Portugal? And is it fair to say that even the introverts from those countries will appear a lot more expressive than people from other countries?
Yes, sure. Oh yeah, and I would say that for a Finnish person, I am extroverted. I see it, yes, but it's true, like for American people or South America.
Say things like that. This Ben, you're being racist. No, I'm not. You've never met these people.
Yeah, it's not racist. I mean, it's just the cultural.
Yes, exactly.
Atmosphere. I mean, Finnish people, we can be very friendly, but in comparison to most other places in the world, the general mentality is a lot more introverted. And
if you want the most like FE ever, like from a guy, it's like if you think of like a gay Italian, like there's one on British television, like Bruno Taglioni, you will get so much FE. It's amazing.
Oh yeah.
It's just enormous. He's putting it out there, isn't he, Jonathan?
What type do you think it is, though? I don't know if he's.
I don't know, but I just see it.
I can actually see him. I can see him being an EFP, actually.
Maybe, but you see what I mean, though. When you have that combination.
Yeah, still strong FE, I suppose.
Very strong. And again, that's another example of a non-type related factor that can affect someone's expression level.
Well, I actually watch an Italian YouTuber who is, I think he's an NTP, and he's actually much more reserved. Could be an ENTP or logical subtype. But
yeah, of course there's, and I know there are very extroverted Finnish people, of course. So, but I mean, just the general feel you get from if you live in this in my country, and the general atmosphere is probably more introverted than in most other countries.
So when I went to London in 2007, I said that, and I met these Italians, and as well as like so many Australians in London, like in Earls Court, and they asked where I live, and I said, I live in Leicester near Nottingham. Right, and they just said, and they would say to me, Nottingham! That's how they would refer to me, as Nottingham, with like all this effusion. It's like, wow, that's a lot of energy level there.
Well, to be fair, Nottingham is much more famous than Leicester.
Yeah.
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 No one cares about the share of Leicester.
No one cares.
Yeah. Nottingham is
Premier League, though. I still don't believe it, but they won the Premier League.
Nottingham. Okay, so but this can be sometimes true. Social types enjoy interacting with people, but they avoid intimacy. Sometimes I can feel more comfortable in group situations than in one-to-one, which is weird, taking if I'm SX first. But but it can also be about introversion, because it can be easier if there's a group. It can be easier to be less engaged in a group, to take these small moments.
Yeah.
Jonathan, could that be an E6 thing where Hanna might feel more comfortable in a social situation because it has rules to it and guidelines how to act in that situation, whereas
perhaps I think I do sort of relate to what she's saying about how she can be more comfortable in a group because you're not you're on the sidelines of it.
I see. Yes.
That could be an introversion, an INF thing again.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
I've had an example of that in Hangouts where some people have suggested, like, said before they've done it, they would like to do a group hangout with me before they did a one-to-one hangout.
Yeah. Yeah, I prefer group hangouts, or not. Well, in hangouts it's okay. I can talk like endlessly, especially about my special interest. But if there is sometimes I prefer to be in a group of people than one-to-one, because then I don't have to take charge of the social situation. You know, I don't have to be the one responsible because there can be other.
Yeah, that was the thing. That's what I'd like you to talk about that we've not really mentioned yet, is the situations when you do take charge.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think many people see me as a take charge person, and I do. I think I just wrote in one group in Facebook what happened to me last week. I don't know if you read it, but what happened to me was that we were eating in a restaurant with my family, and then in the other table, one woman started to choke. She had something in her throat, and because I'm quite observant of my surroundings, so I was very alert, and I just saw when she stood up, even before she started doing anything, I saw, okay, she's going to choke. So I just immediately stood up. Of course, it was not only my responsibility, but that's how I react in these kind of emergency situations. That I just stood up and then went to her and took the charge. You know, I took charge of and I even had to do some Heimlich.
Right.
You know, and it went okay, and she survived, and we didn't have to call ambulance or anything. But the point is that I do take charge, you know, in those kind of situations. Yeah.
I think you once told in a different hangout, you told the story of that you were in a lecture and you couldn't hear the lecturer, and you took charge by telling everybody else to shut up so you could hear the.
Yeah. But it's rare, and I would say that I don't. I don't enjoy being. I really don't enjoy being in the center of attention. That's not that's never my goal. Yeah.
I heard a story of that. Apparently, it was true that this person confirmed it. A celebrity who I have typed as E6, or either E6 or has a 6 who did that exact same thing. They were in a lecture. Someone was talking. They told them to shut up and try to listen to the lecture.
Yeah, I mean, but I think it's also. I mean, it's uncomfortable for me to tell people tell people to shut up, and I really dislike that. But there at some point I will say that because it just will. Yeah. I feel.
What I think it is, it's people don't understand this unless they are the type. It's what it's like to be SE polar, is where it's like hitting that sore point on us, and if you hit it enough, then we can react fiercely to that pressure because we feel it more. It's more of an irritant to us than it is to other people.
I'm fairly sure this person is either ENFP or INFP, so yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
I won't say who they are, but so interesting.
I think what messes up with I do identify as INFP in MBTI, at least at the moment. I'm not sure in Socionics. I think I'm lost in Socionics, but anyway. But I think that whatever my type in MBTI or Socionics, this E6 will affect this hypervigilance and alertness, and being prepared for all kind of emergencies. And the study nursing is a very good fit for E6 because I get all kind of tools to behave, what I can use in real life situations.
Plus, I think Victor's name for your type you'll like, the humanist.
Yeah, I just took this philosophy test, like what philosophy is the best fit for me, and of course I got humanist.
Well, there you go then. That's another triangulate your type.
Yeah. But anyway, but I would, what I do not identify in this sexual type is that I don't have any need to be like this like this. It says, no, sorry, this is confusing. No, okay, this doesn't say anything. Well, now Jonathan has to change the page. Okay. Intimacy junkies. Yeah, I think what I do seek is this strong emotions, but I don't necessarily. This sounds weird, but I prefer feeling those emotions by myself and then connecting to other people like at a separate time. It's I don't know how I could do. Maybe it's introversion again. That sometimes being in the actual situation with people can be just too much. You know, that I have to be alone and process my emotions and feel those emotions. But it can also be that it's safer to be alone and feel those emotions.
Jonathan, can it be like this for the E6 INFP, where they want enough contact with people to be able to check how they stand with someone, to like put like their insecurities to rest a little bit, and then they'll go away from that person once they know that the relationship is at a certain level, and that they've only really interacted to sort of like check where they stand with them. It's almost like they've talked to the person not for the sake of the person themselves, but for the sake of how they relate to the person.
I think all E6 is gonna be like that, not just INFPs.
Yeah, I relate to that a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe the FI types are more aware of that, but
so it's like it's weird. So they concentrate more on the relationship with the person than the actual person.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to say that I'm sorry to agree with that, but yes, that's me. It's and I can understand that people can feel that E6 and INFP whatever, or people like this can sound very self-centered and very not selfish is a bad word, but self-centered, because they concentrate and it's also very easy for people like that or like me to create this imaginary, to do this. How does he call this? The project.
projection.
Yeah, and I mean how does he call it in Kersey this that we try to change other people? What is it?
Oh, the Pygmalion project.
Yeah. So I think people like me can be very prone to that because we have this imaginary. Well, we have this relationship, but we cherish the relationship more than the other person. so we can our imagination can fill in a lot of stuff.
And also that actually probably goes to the opposite of the because as you know, Pygmalion became My Fair Lady as a movie, and Kersey was at the opposite end, saying no, you can't change someone's temperament. You have to find you have to merge the person into the best member of that temperament that they can be. Not, you know, it's like another thing where it's like you don't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. You know, they are what they are, but you make them be the best person of what they can be.
Yeah, but that's I'm quite aware of my tendency to this Pygmalion project. So, but I'm old, so I've had time to consider that.
What is the page?
I don't remember the page. You mean did I read this page?
Yeah. Have you read this one yet?
Barry.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely intense, even with my avoidances.
Right.
Yeah, I think I'm S6 first, unfortunately. I will say it's not nice. I would prefer being SP first, but I'm afraid I'm S6.
So, Jonathan, what you've heard in this hangout, are you more confident of Hanna being an INFP?
Well, I was always confident for being an INFP. That was the worst.
That's good. I like to have this that someone is confident, because I'm never confident of my type.
Yeah. For me, it was more. Was more.
For me, if Hanna isn't an INFP, then it's like, how the heck are we going to be able to identify an INFP? I mean, like, you tick nearly all the boxes.
Yeah, it's true. You know, I guess it somehow bothers me that not everyone sees me as INFP. So I think I become more unsure of my type when I get.
Yeah, it's like those people, like, it's like, oh, because you stand up for yourself. Like I said, because because you've studied philosophy and there's certain things that you know, they think, oh, she's standing up for herself, she's probably an ESI.
Yeah, I think it's INFP, many INFPs are E9 or E4, and it's true. I think they're quite different from E6. So.
I've actually, I think I come across E6s more than any other type. Whenever I'm typing people, there's so many sixes.
There are many.
INFP or otherwise.
Jonathan, do all E6s to some extent show some counterphobic traits?
Yes. A lot of that depends on the situation, their stress level, if they're not counterphobic, but yeah.
So if you've got the combination of INFP, which is like SE break, SE polar, and then you've got this counterphobic element, so there can be these elements where it's like, press that little button, and then they can react.
Yes. And I think this is also I think INFP sixes are the most likely to look like SJs or STJs at times.
Yeah.
Or they can be more in touch with that side of them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think because E6 is a head type, so I think most E6 that I know are some kind of information junkies also, that they seek knowledge and try to understand. So I think those are more TI.
Yeah, because we can even say it's not really her SE, it's more just her TE, because TE can be, take charge.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I'm thinking of now is that all the descriptions I've seen of your tri-type say that 614 is more likely to be social than sexual, but that could just be, that could just be something else. Doesn't necessarily. These are just meant to be guides, so.
Yeah.
So I'll put in the title, Hannah. I'll put you down as a Enneagram 6-win-5. Is that right? Is that your best fit?
Yeah, 6-win-5. Yes.
Now, and usually when I know someone's tri-type, I put their tri-type in instead.
You can. I'm 6-1-4. Yeah. So
6-1-4. Oh, you got a 4 in there.
I hate it, but it's. Sometimes I could be 6-1-2 also, but I think I'm 6-1-4 because the one is wing 2. So.
All right. So Jonathan, have you got a 4 in your tri-type?
No.
That was laconic.
Yes, it's like you want a 4 to be in your tri-type.
I never knew. I didn't mean to come off in any particular way. I just said no. Like, I used to think I had a 4 in my tri-type, but I realised it's actually more likely a 2.
But I think it started as like 4 was number 1, and then it eventually got relegated to like outside of the tri-type.
Yeah, I can't find it anymore, but I think it was actually the Lullaby that showed me a link to a list of questions or descriptions of a list of questions for the type 4. I couldn't decide if it was type 4 or type 2, and when I read the type 2 description, I related to healthy and the unhealthy things, but with the type 4 it was more the average to unhealthy side, and since I'm a 1, that would help explain that anyway. Was an INFJ.
But you do want to write. You've talked about you do want to write a novel, don't you?
Yeah, but I don't think that's unique to type. Really.
Well, why do you want
actually
to write a novel? Why do you want to write?
Because I do.
That's a
complicated question. That's a complicated question with many reasons. Yeah, but I do. I mean, if you're on the Enneagram Institute website, they do say that one of the differences between a 6 and a 4 is that a 4 is more likely to write a novel and a 6 is more likely to perform. And I do not find that at all. I find there's plenty of type 6 novelists. So many. I mean, so many, especially in fantasy, actually, so many. I'm noticing this a lot. There's so many of the novelists I'm reading. Oh, they're 6. Oh, they're 6. Oh, they're 6. Just in their methods and writing and so on.
Do you think that's because the 6 does go through a lot of scenarios in their head? Because they do that in real life. Like this could happen, that could happen, that could happen.
Could be. I mean, yeah. There is certain tones with with them, but yeah, I've read other novelists who are clearly different types, but just in my this is not me saying that is the writing market is dominated by sixes. I'm just saying that the books I have been reading have by coincidence been sixes, quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely have distinctions between the writing styles and so on, but some particular themes.
Well, as you know, I mean, a lot of books are written by the Delta Quadra and INFJ, because you got to think that a lot of those mystery novels are written by STJs, because those are some complicated plots going on, and the SJs like reading them as well.
Well, Agatha Christie, I think, is an INFJ. Was an INFJ. She's usually typed as that, and you can sort of see it, especially in her. I mean, Hercule Poirot is an NI type. He's probably INFJ or INTJ, and she thought, "Why does I write this horrible man?" And she actually does describe in one of her books. I can't remember which one it was, but years and years ago, before I got into this, Hercule Poirot was describing his intuition, and I related to it a lot, and it is more or less what Jung was describing. So, yeah, I think Agatha Christie's an INFJ. I think I actually do quite like mystery books, so I could see. And also, J.K. Rowling self-identifies as an INFJ, and the first 2 or 3 Harry Potter books have a mystery component as well.
One of the things that is that after she did Harry Potter, she wrote like a naughty book that might fit her being in the Beta Quadra. She wrote a sort of like erotic novel type thing.
Yeah, well, even Harry Potter has quite a few things like symbolism, like how the Dementors represent depression and so on. And also there's a lot of, I think type 6 INFJs are rarer than type 6 INFPs, and I'm fairly sure she's a type 6. That's another type 6 novelist. So it may be that's one of the things that are
either type make good
unusual.
novelists.
Mm-hmm.
INFP, INFJs make good novelists.
Oh, quite a few. I think every time can make a good novelist if you just depends on the genre or their style and so on. I mean, I've said that J.R.R. Tolkien is probably an ISTJ, and that's pretty as a slightly influential book that he wrote.
Well, I mean, it's so unimaginative in terms of the plotting. It's awful.
Well, yeah, it's
if you compare it to the invention in the Odyssey, where your hero is supposed to use your brain to get out of a problem, not rely on coincidence.
Well, the Hobbit. You might like the Hobbit a bit more than Bill was a bit more of that.
Because ironically, the actual hallmark of the action adventure is that the hero wins by outsmarting the villain. It's their resourcefulness.
Depends.
But in your proper written ones, it's their resourcefulness.
That's just some TI bias right there.
Yeah, but that can be very boring. I think it's more interesting if it's not only the resourcefulness. I like of course I seek emotional catharsis if I read something. So.
Oh yeah, but
it depends. There's no reason for one thing to be better than the other.
Yeah, I mean that's why we enjoy. But interestingly, my ISTJ husband, I think Tolkien is one of the most important authors. So
yeah.
I've never read the books. I'm just going off the films. The fact that the films are just that convention to me. Whereas
slap.
That convention. You compare that to the Odyssey. There's more stuff going on in the Odyssey.
Yeah, but I like growth.
The Odyssey was written thousands of years ago. Of course, it's invention. Of course, it's being inventive. Nothing has been invented yet.
It's still invented though. How they get out of situations. How he uses his brain.
No.
He uses his brain to get out of the situations. Doesn't rely on his friends turning up or coincidence.
Yeah. Well, anyway, talking is an ISTJ. You can see that as detailed rating, and also when you listen to him and so on. I'll also say that Tom Clancy and John Grisham, I think they're ESTJs. They've also got quite a detailed rating.
And my brother reads them, so yeah.
I've got some good news for you, Jonathan. Grace watched all of your Hangout on the type and about type and authors, about which types novelists. I think it's writing and type. That Hangout, she watched all of it, even though it's 4 hours. And she said initially she couldn't understand you, but then she understood you. So she watched all of it. So she really liked that Hangout. You have a fan.
High praise. Eventually she understood me.
It's just initially. It's like for the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But she really liked that Hangout.
Yeah.
Authors and type.
I think a lot of thrower writers are SPs.
You mean instinctual or artisan?
Artisan.
Artisan. That makes sense.
Yeah, thrower writers. So,
ISFP?
Artisan or
You think ISFP?
No, maybe even ESTP. There's the short chapter because in throwers there's pretty much a climax every single chapter and a twist. So the fast-paced stuff, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's my opinion.
I think ISFPs. I know. Well, okay. Let's put it this way. Most of the visual artists that I know, are ISFPs.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
ESFPs.
That makes a lot of sense.
My mother is ISFP, and she's an artist. Hey, I have to go soon because I'm in my kids' room and they are.
Oh yes, sorry, we're keeping them up. We don't want to be an excuse. I don't want to get the letter. I don't want to get an email. I don't want to get a message. Ben, I'm sorry, we cannot do this message anymore. My children.
But I think Jonathan, the last question: do you think that SXSP would make sense?
Yes, it would make sense. You see a bit more SO than I would think from the descriptions and so on. That's just strange for me. But
but I have a strong one in my tri-type. Also.
Yeah.
But again, SO can be accentuated by your personal circumstances and the culture that you're in.
And also we said that you have a strong SP instinct, so that might pull from SO a bit as well.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Right, so we can do a bit of a wind up. So it's goodbye for me, and then the other two will say goodbye as well.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Right.